Howdy and welcome back to the workshop. In today's episode, we're going to be fixing the dagger that I recently failed my Mastersmith test with. This is the piece right here. It has a 400 layer reconstructed ladder pattern Damascus blade, 500 layer guard and pommel, fossilized walrus ivory handle with 14 karat gold twisted wire inlays. And these little inlays right here are a problem. I did these at about 4 a.m. the morning before I tested, and so believe it or not, I didn't quite nail them. That combined with the fact that I think the ivory has moved a little bit since I initially worked on it means that this gold is a little extra loose. The biggest problem that it has right now is that the channels that this twisted gold wire sits in are not quite deep enough. So as the pommel is tightened down, it actually pushes on the gold and causes those wires to loosen up. Now, when I put it on the table for Mastersmith, the gold was not nearly this loose. It was pretty firm. There was one wire that had a little bit of movement to it, but nothing too bad. So today we're going to try and figure out how to get that gold out of there, and then we're going to replace it with fresh 14 karat gold. So the first things first, I'm going to be taking it apart. The way that this dagger is put together is the tang of the blade goes all the way through. The guard fits up to the shoulders of the blade. Then that tang goes through the whole handle. And then at the very end of it, it is threaded. That threaded rod has a matching nut that sits inside of this pommel. And that nut is held into the pommel with another piece of threading. But I need to take an 1/8 inch Allen key and throw it down the end there and get this thing apart. There we go. Handle comes off. So I think first things first is I want to put a little bit of super glue deactivator on here because this is just held in with super glue. There's holes drilled through. On this side, it's just hooked. On the other side is where it's a real problem. It's actually starting to kind of deflect and kind of roll over this sharp edge on the pommel. So we're going to have to fix that and refinish this pommel. Just kind of let it soak in here for a little bit. I'm not too terribly hopeful that it's actually going to do a whole lot. Yeah, it kind of turn it into gel a little bit, but I'm going to stick it in the induction forge. And I've got it turned almost all the way down. What it'll do, it won't hurt the ivory at all, but it'll heat up the gold. And my worry is that the gold will heat up too much and burn the ivory, which is fixable, but I would rather avoid it. I'm not even feeling it be like warm at all. I'm going to turn it up all the way. This is max power. Nope. All right, let's change coils. I'm going to turn it back down again. And we'll try again. New plan. Since that doesn't seem to be working, I think what we can do is cut the wire, unfold the ends, and then heat that up, and the transfer of heat should fix it.
Now, as you may be able to imagine, revisiting and diving back into something that is, to me, like a pretty unpleasant memory. It's kind of painful to think about what happened at Blade Show last year. Not super fun, but what is super fun is that today's sponsor is BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online service that connects you with a therapist completely virtually. So whether you want to video call, or message, I don't think that they're doing carrier pigeons yet, but maybe if you guys email in, get that added to the list. Pretty cool. But it means that you can connect with a therapist completely on your own schedule, entirely virtually, and there's a good few benefits to that. For one thing, it means that finding someone that aligns with your values, whether that is your religion, for me, I wouldn't be able to really talk to somebody unless they understood my worldview as a Christian. That's just kind of a non-starter. Now, it's incredibly easy to find someone who you enjoy talking to. If you live in a small place, especially like Montana or somewhere like that, it might not be super easy to switch therapists or find someone new. BetterHelp makes that a very simple and very easy process. Now, it's incredibly important to be able to talk to somebody because everybody goes through hard stuff, whether it's failing your Mastersmith test or maybe it's the stresses of school or relationships or whatever it is. You have to be able to have a safe and caring, understanding space to be able to talk. That is incredibly important. And BetterHelp makes sure that all of those therapists are well qualified and they have a whole customer support team to help you if you have any questions about that whole process. Getting started is super easy. You just fill out a questionnaire and they'll connect you with a therapist in as little as a couple days. So if you're struggling, consider therapy with our sponsor, BetterHelp. You can go to betterhelp.com/Will Stelter for 10% off your first month. And if you guys have any questions about BetterHelp, the way that they license their therapists, their privacy guidelines, all of that stuff. I know that's a concern for some of you. You can go and there will be a link in the description somewhere you can deep dive a little bit deeper into how they handle all of that stuff as well. So with that, let's jump back on in and keep on working on this dagger.
Now for the other side.
Maybe a lighter would be enough.
Good thinking, Isaiah.
All right, now, you see this right here? It's a little bit of blackened, singed ivory. That is something that we're going to have to fix. Got singed a little bit right here, too, and a little bit right in there, but not too bad. And then this side is actually pretty dang good. What I want to do now is go back through, clean up the handle again, and then we need to deepen the grooves and make sure that the pommel is able to sit down flush with the wire in there. So we're going to use a little bit of this wire sacrificially, and we will make sure that the pommel is able to sit with the wire in there.
I got a little bit of 1000 grit. Just going to go in and clean up some of this stuff. I think there's some black marks in there from where the gold's been rubbing on it. Just make sure that there's nothing serious happening there, that it's all just superficial, not just a little official, superficial. Oh yeah, I wanted to see if this would cut a paper towel roll. Do you think it will, Isaiah?
I think it will.
I have no idea, because it did a 0 edge on it. Yep, that did it. All right, so now it's time to twist up some new gold. We need to do 2 sections. And the way that you calculate this is you take the length of the flute where the wire is going to go. We'll use this antique ivory pocket ruler to check here. On this side, it is about 3 1/4. You need to add a little bit of room on either side for that wire to get tucked in. The flutes on the side are a little bit shorter, and so we're going to average it out to, we're going to say 4 inches just to give ourselves plenty of room, because you really don't want to not have enough gold. And so we're going to multiply 4 times 3 because we want to have 3 strands of right hand twist, 3 strands of left hand twist, and we need to multiply it by 2 because in order to get that length of gold, we're going to take it, bend it in half, and then twist it. And so we have 4 times 3 is 12 times 2 is 24. Then you also lose about 30% to the twist. Might not be quite that much. With this, if you pull back on it, you can kind of have not that much, but we're going to add 30% anyway. And 30% of 24 is 8, so that is 32 inches, and then for good measure, we're going to add another 2 inches. So we need to cut 2 34-inch sections. First, I need to make sure that I have enough gold to actually be able to do that. That is 68 inches. We'll say 70. We'll make sure we got 70 inches. Look at that, guys. We got plenty. Thank goodness I over-ordered. And now, since I can't find the one that I used last time, I'm going to bend this little Allen key into a twisting jig. So we need to bend it this way, and then bend it back around so that it has a little small point of contact. Okay, as I was walking over, I found the old one. Next, what we'll do is put both ends of the gold clamped firmly in the bench vise. Yep. And then we will hook our twisting crook, and starting off nice and slow. '81, '82, '83, '84, '85, '86, '87, '89, '90. Probably a little more. All right, I think 100 twists looks pretty good. I'm going to loosen it up. We'll go 3 twists more, and then 3 twists back. 1, 2, 3. And then 2 twists back was enough. The reason why you got to do that is because there's a lot of tension in it after you've done all that twisting. So you got to go back a couple of twists to make it so that it's not just like crazy springy. Looks good. Good even twist. Let's do it the other way now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 2 more. 1, 2, and then 2 back. 1, 2. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. So this next part of the process is actually what really messed me up the morning that I was trying to finish this dagger. Because I tried to anneal the wire just using a torch, and it just didn't work. Not only did it not soften it, but it also blackened the gold like we see here from yesterday. And so it looked just awful. I didn't have the correct stuff at the time to be able to fix it. I found out later that you can use ferric chloride to get rid of the oxidation that happens, but I didn't know that at the time, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. So I tried using, let's keep in mind this is 5 a.m., a buffing wheel to clean off the gold wire, and believe it or not, I just caught it and kind of flung it around and threw some kinks into it. And in this state, what I just did off camera was tie this into a circle like this, just very, very loosely. And even just doing that introduced some kinks and stress and just stuff that doesn't look good. And that showed up in the gold. The fact that this is so hard right now from being twisted together, that introduced a lot of stress into it. That also is part of the reason why it wasn't able to crush down and why it actually caused it to sit a little bit looser. If it was a little bit softer, I don't think that it would have had that problem. So we're gonna go ahead and I think throw this in the kiln at 1250 degrees for 10 minutes. And then take it out, and I think we're supposed to water quench it, and we might have to do that a couple of times. So we'll try water quenching it first, and then we'll try air cooling it.
Flashback.
14 karat gold oxidizes when you anneal it. And I've got some oxidized gold wire that needs to be shiny in a dagger handle to be presented to a panel of judges in 3 hours. Google was unhelpful. They were like, oh, just use this professional pickling solution that we're trying to sell you, which I actually have. This would have worked great.
End of flashback.
2 scoops of smart pickle. The induction forge is just the neatest thing ever. To think they use this to turn cucumbers into pickles. But if it gets on your skin, you have to wash it for 20 minutes? Okay. All right, so while we're waiting for that to pickle, we can go ahead and dig into refinishing the pommel. Now, I used a different kind of bluing solution than I had in the past on this, but I'm gonna try again with some super blue, which should blacken it up even a little bit more. I'm gonna do the same thing to the guard, but on the pommel, it actually kind of bent out and hurt the pommel a little bit. This is unhardened, and so yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer. But right there, and then a little bit on the other side. So we're just going to sand that down really lightly with some 1000 grit, then do a light re-etch on it, and then re-blacken the guard and pommel. Cleaning off the blackening on the guard. This one we won't have to redo the ferric chloride etch, but we will redo the blackening etch. For those of you who are wondering, this stuff is the best degreaser that I've ever tried. It is just phenomenal. It's like brake cleaner, but way more powerful and more expensive. Put that in the ferric, and then we'll load up a container with some super blue. Not glue with a G, a B, bravo, super blue. What's cool about this is that if you drank it, you would die. There's a skull and crossbones on the packaging. It's like a cartoon. What is hitting? There we go. All right, we're gonna draw back the bluing with some ultra fine steel wool. This is steel wool that is so fine you can't even buy it in America. I got it in South Africa. It's way finer than anything I've found in America. It's like 6/0 steel wool. They call it quadruple-aught, but it's so much finer than our quadruple-aught. It's crazy. All right, I pulled the pommel out of etch because I realized I'm probably not gonna blend super well. I need to even out my scratch pattern a little bit more. All right, what in the world?
Is it the lighting?
No.
Okay.
This one's blue, this one's not. All right, it's been about 24 hours in the pickling, and it really doesn't look very good. So I'm going to take it out, neutralize the acid, wash it off, and then see if we can clean it up mechanically. The way that I cleaned up that other wire was with Scotch-Brite. I figure between Scotch-Brite and some steel wool, we should be able to get this stuff to look pretty good. Okay, so I just pulled on the wire to help straighten it out a little bit, and it did work, but it also stretched it out a decent bit. You see, as you twist the wire, it contracts, and so when you pull on it, it... So now what was 2 perfectly same length wires, I bet I stretched it out a whole inch. Right about. Maybe a little less. It's pretty good. It looks good. The outside, which is the important part, is bright, and the inside is less bright. I can also, I guess, stretch this out after I'm done cleaning it and then retighten it if I need to. But first I have to clean this side. Alrighty. That'll work. I love knife making, I love knife making, I love knife making, even if I did scratch the ivory getting the old gold out. Whew, what a fun hobby. What a great job to have. All right, now the handle is ready. It's got a good buff going on it. So what we're gonna do is dip the ends in super glue. We're gonna little dab of super glue, and we'll go in the top, and then we'll round it over, and then we'll tuck it through, and all of these holes actually go all the way through. And so we can actually go through and pull it tight from the inside while the super glue sets, and that way we're able to keep a lot of tension on this as we're doing it. Now imagine doing this after working for 24 hours straight, and it's 5 a.m. That's what it was like last time. So almost no matter what, this is going to be more pleasant. That is not tight anymore. You son of a gun. All right, going to redo it. How about that? Man, I haven't biffed doing gold wire this bad since the last time I did it on this Dagger. All right, I figured I should probably just run the ball burr in the bottom of the grooves a little bit, just to give that wire a little bit firmer place to hang out. Carving in that little groove really gives that wire a much firmer place to sit down. A little dot of superb glue. Nice. That's good. That is a good looking piece of gold right there. These ones are way easier on the sides because the holes aren't a full loop, and so you just kind of push it through quite a bit easier. Oh, brother. What I am going to do is grind off the points of these a little bit so that they're not hitting the things. Ladies and you gotta be freaking kidding me. 2 of them.
Okay, well, it's been a day, and I've made up my mind on what I want to do. One of the wires that I thought was loose, I just pushed on it with the pliers, and it's tight again, so it was only loose by a tiny, tiny bit. But this one, that one is actually loose. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of steel, heat it up in my induction forge, and hold it on that piece of gold. The heat will transfer from the steel into the gold. We should be able to melt the glue and then take it out and then be able to reinsert it. Now it is going to be harder to get that gold tight on this side than it would be on the other side. And then after I get it reinserted, we get it tight, what I'm going to do is relieve in the bottom side of the guard the areas where it's contacting. So I'm just going to take my little burr and relieve in there until it's not hitting enough to push the gold out of the way. Yeah. Should solve our problems. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to put a dot of super glue over the top. I think as long as we're not putting too much pressure on it, that feels totally tight to me. Dope sick and tight. No, we need to go a little deeper with these. Well, finally, at long last, the Dagger is actually done. Marty, what are your thoughts? The gold came out absolutely spectacular. It's a little bit of a looser twist than I did last time, but I think it looks really, really good. And then just the contrast between the dark guard and pommel and the light handle with the bright gold in it and the dark theme in the blade. I just absolutely love this piece. The funny thing is that normally I get done with a piece that I spent a lot of time on, and I'm always like, get it out of my sight. Or any little problem with it just drives me nuts. But I think all of the issues with this piece, and I still just absolutely love it. This is one of the pieces that is actually going to be hard for me to let go. But it's already sold, and so I'll be shipping it off to the collector kind of as soon as possible. So thank you guys so much for following along. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process of going through and fixing the gold on this. What a nightmare. Oh my gosh. It would have been a much better plan to have just done it right the first time, not at 5 a.m. the morning that I was testing for Master Smith. That would have been a good plan. But it was a great learning experience. The only way to get better is to learn, and hopefully I'm doing that. Also, I have allergies, which is why I sound like this. But thank you guys so much for following along. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you to our patrons for patronizing us. Thank you to Marty for marting it up. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.